the modern history previous year questions. And of course, it's a very good chronology can be maintained in modern history compared to some other PYQs what we have discussed so far. So I think we'll start from the coming of the Europeans, then we'll go until the independence also. Again, certain not so quite theme based, some kind of out of the blue questions have come in modern history also. So we will discuss in last. Simply I will mention about them. So first we will start from the coming of the Europeans, then again we'll see whatever the question that asked from that particular angle, we'll see the 360 degree, and then we'll go again with respect to the occupation, then again of course the policies of the Britishers, then again national movement, and bulk of the questions have come from the national movement angle. So that is the reason recognizing the themes becomes so important in UPSC, and at the same time reading comprehensively about those particular themes also matters a lot. Okay, so without further ado, so let's start modern history previous year questions. So the first question, I think recently it was asked in 2022 with reference to Indian history. Consider the following statements. The Dutch established their factories, warehouses on the eastern coast on the lands granted to them by the Gajapati rulers. And a second statement, Alfonso de Albuquerque captured Goa from the Bijapur Sultanate. And a third statement, English East India Company established a factory at Madras on a plot of land leased from a representative of the Vijayanagara Empire. So different points have been given over here. Okay, so it is about the beginning of the Dutch East India Company as well as Portuguese, then again we can say English East India Company questions over here. So now the Dutch, of course, they came to India, so in and around we can say 1602. Okay, so Dutch East India Company, and then again Portuguese came way back in when Vasco da Gama came in 1498. Okay, so English East India Company at least, of course, 1608 we can say, then again 1608, 1613. So now Gajapati rulers, I think Gajapatis are one of the contemporaries of Vijayanagara empires. So Gajapati's rule, I think they ended even before the Dutch they came to India. The Dutch came in 17th century, but the Gajapati rulers were ended in way back in by the 1550s itself only. Actual date is 1541, and that is by the time of middle of the 16th century, the Gajapati rulers of Odisha they ended. We'll look at who are Gajapati rulers, who are their major founders and everything. And then Alfonso de Albuquerque captured Goa from Bijapur Sultanate. That is a famous fact. Everybody knows about that one. And that is with the help of one of the greatest kings of Vijayanagara Empire, that is Sri Krishna Deva Raya. That is Alfonso de Albuquerque, that is Portuguese governor, captured Bijapur Sultanate. And then English East India Company established a factory at Madras on a plot of land leased from a representative of the Vijayanagara Empire. So Madras was given as a lease as one of the representative of Vijayanagara Empire, that is Damara Venkata Nayaka. That is also true. So first statement is wrong. First is wrong. Then again you can look at the first statement, that is D, C, and again A. The answer is 2, 3, 1. Answer option is B over here. And of course English India Company, so established in 1599, merchant adventurers. Okay, they again received the Queen's Charter 1600 for 15 years, and again then extended infinitely in 1609. Infinitely. What is that charter? Charter talks about the exclusive right to trade with the eastern countries, and that is particularly India in this particular respect, and it's continued until 1813 Charter Act. From 1600 to it extended for 15 years, but in 1609 it extended infinitely, and then again it was ended in 1813. So this is the of course other questions about English India Company have been asked. First we will look at about the Gajapati rulers as well as the Portuguese and the Dutch. Of course the first country to come to India, of course the Portuguese coming into India was facilitated by coming of Vasco da Gama, okay, in 1498 to Kerala, and the first factory in India established in 1500 at Calicut by Pedro Alvarez Cabral. And again Vasco da Gama once again came back to India in 1501 and established a trading center at Kannur, today it is called as Kannur. And later 1502 the Portuguese built their trading post at Pulicat. And again there are some variations in some of these dates also. There are certain variations in these particular dates, and 1503 they established factory at Cochin. Factory at Cochin. So these are some of the early beginning of Portuguese. And the viceroys, some of the famous viceroys of Portuguese, that is first and foremost we talk about Almeida, Francisco de Almeida. That is the first viceroy. He was there between 1505 to 1509, and he was known for his one of its important policy, that is called as Blue Water Policy, also called as Carta system. And the enforcement of Blue Water Policy was Carta system. What is Blue Water Policy? Blue Water Policy is to establish supremacy of Portuguese supremacy over the ocean. Establishing the supremacy over ocean, not land. And then particularly in which ocean? That is the Indian Ocean, not Indian land. And that is the reason British succeeded massively in India, because the Portuguese had the intention of only dominating the oceans, but English East India Company or the Britishers, they had the intention of dominating the Indian landmass, and that is the reason Britishers ruled over for nearly 200 years in India from 1757 to until 1947. Okay, so that is blue water policy. They want to enforce Portuguese rules and regulations in the oceans. They did not want to give any permission to any ship. Did not want to let any other ship to go into ocean for trading without taking the permission of Portuguese. And to take the permission of Portuguese, and that they had to take a license, and that license is called as what? Carta system. That is the enforcement of the Portuguese supremacy, and that was brought by Francisco de Almeida. He was the first viceroy of Portuguese between 1505 to 1509. That is a blue water policy, also called as to enforce the blue water policy. He brought Carta system, that is a license. Then he built some forts. At many places. Anjadeva, that's Kannanur, that's St. Angelo Fort, and then Cochin, that is Fort Manuel, then Quilum or Kollam, we can say. So these are certain forts that are built by Portugal. I think most of you know about St. George Fort or St. William Fort. Okay, so I think it's a less known fort, but again, to know better, to go a little bit deeper, I think we can know about some of the forts established by Portuguese in India, and particularly established by Francisco de Almeida. That's blue water policy, establishing Portuguese supremacy over oceans, and to enforce that supremacy, he brought licensing system that is called Carta. That is, any ship which go into trade, which go into trading through oceans, that is, they have to take this particular permission. If they enter the ocean without this permission, the ship can be seized, and whatever the goods that is there, that can be sunk also. Okay, and Portuguese, of course, they captured Goa from Bijapur Sultanate, that is Yusuf Adil Shah in 1510. Alfonso de Albuquerque, that is, he was the viceroy between 1509 to 1515, and with the help of Sri Krishna Deva Raya, okay, belonged to Tuluva dynasty. I think we discussed this in medieval India. Sri Krishna Deva Raya's conquest, Shivanasamudra, Raichur, Ashtadigaja, Sitkot. Okay, so that is one question that was asked. At the same time, it is the first territory under Europeans since the time of Alexander. Alexander came back in 300 BCE times, 320 BCE is to that point of time, and he came to a northwestern part of the Indian subcontinent. And after that one, other Europeans who conquered Indian territory for the first time since time of Alexander was Portuguese, that is Goa. And of course, they're the last one to leave in around 1960, we can talk about 60, 61. First one to come and the last one to leave. And this question was asked in one of the chronological base order in one of the question paper. I guess it was in 2018 or 2019. We will solve that question today. So this question was asked, that chronological arrange the Portuguese leaving India or Goa becoming state, Goa becoming part of India. Okay, so he tried abolishing some reforms he tried to bring, and headquarters was Cochin, and then later Nino de Cunha, so another governor general, we can say, or viceroy, but both are used simultaneously or interchangeably also. And he captured Besai. Today it is called as Besain. Now it is called as Vasai, then it was called as Besain. At the same time, from whom he captured? From Gujarat Sultanate, that is Bahadur Shah, in 1533. So from Gujarat Sultanate, Bahadur Shah is in 1533. Okay, so this is about majorly Portuguese, and Portuguese headquarters was Cochin during the time period of Alfonso de Albuquerque, but Nino de Cunha made headquarters as Goa, and that headquarters continued until Portuguese left India in 1960-61. Okay, that is continued. So first one to come 1498, and last one to leave, that is 1960-61. And then Dutch East India Company, because that question asking about, we discussed about English India Company 1599. That's a very that factual details you people already know. Dutch East India Company, that is the first Dutch traveler who came to India, that is in 1596, Cornelius de Outman. Then Dutch East India Company was established in 1602, but their major interest was in Indonesia, not in India. Okay, because they are more interested in the crops and everything that is there in Java and Sumatra Islands rather than in India. And they conquered Sri Lanka from Portuguese. At the same time, the first factory in India was Masulipatanam. Okay, and minted their gold coins at Pulicat on the eastern coast. Pulicat. Okay, so and headquarters in India was Nagapattinam, that is in Tamil Nadu. So headquarters of Portuguese was Goa, headquarters of Dutch was Nagapattinam, and Dutch, of course, that is Netherlands. Some people don't have the basic understanding of the Netherlands. Okay, Dutch means Netherlands, also called as Holland. Holland. Okay, Nagapattinam, that is Tamil Nadu. And in 1667, there was an agreement between the Britishers and the Dutch, and Britishers agreed to give up Indonesia, because Britishers agreed that they are not going to interfere in Indonesia, and Dutch also agreed in return that they are not going to interfere in Indian politics as well as Sri Lanka politics. So Sri Lanka and India given up by Dutch to English, and the English gave up Indonesia to Dutch in 1667. So agreement with British to leave India for Indonesia and give Ceylon. And finally, Dutch as a political force ended in India in 1759 with Battle of Bedara. Battle of Bedara, also called as Battle of Chinsura. So what is this Battle of Bedara? Okay, so English India Company defeated Dutch. So here Mir Jafar, and Dutch together, they wanted to defeat English India Company. Why? Because Mir Jafar had become Nawab of Bengal in 1757 after Plassey. Okay, so now Mir Jafar thought like he could rule on his own, but East India Company was interfering in Mir Jafar's administration. So Mir Jafar took the help of Dutch to defeat East India Company. But by that point of time in 1759, I think Britishers were far more powerful. Now East India Company completely defeated Dutch and defeated Mir Jafar also, and made his son-in-law Mir Qasim as the new Nawab of Bengal. Because Mir Qasim helped East India Company to defeat his own father-in-law, and that was Mir Jafar. So that is the end of Dutch East India Company in India in 1759. Of course, there was no foreign challenge also. A few years later, 4 years later, 1763, Treaty of Paris was signed, and French also left. French politically ended in India. They continued only as traders in Pondicherry. So there was no challenging to British power in India, especially after 1763 Treaty of Paris. Then they had to deal with only the Indian powers. So defeated one by one. They defeated Mysore, Marathas, then again Punjab, then again Sindh. Ultimately, they established a colonial rule over India. Okay, so in 1639, why this date is important? Because one statement was there, that is, Madras was given as a lease to English East India Company by one of the representative of Vijayanagara Empire. So what happened in 1639? That is Francis Day, one of the representative of England or East India Company. So he got Madras for lease from local Raja. See, local Raja of Madras, that is Damarla Venkatadri Nayaka, also called Chandragiri Raja. He was a representative of Vijayanagara Empire, because Vijayanagara Empire was started to decline after 1565, Battle of Talikote, Battle of Rakkasatangadi, also called as. So representative of Vijayanagara Empire. So that was us, and according to this agreement, that is half of the customs from this particular region will be given to this Raja by the East India Company. So in exchange, they are giving Madras for lease to East India Company. So for what purposes? For trading purposes, of course, and minting their coins and build a fort and administer Madras region and build a fort. That which fort they built? The Fort St. George, Fort William in Calcutta and Fort St. George in Madras. Okay, so 1639, that is Damarla Venkatadri Nayaka gave it as a lease to British East India Company. So for trade purposes, coin money, Britishers can do trading, coin money, administer that particular region and build a fort for greater security purposes. At the same time, in exchange, half of the custom what they are going to collect, that will be given to that particular Raja. And that is the reason, that is how Britishers got Madras. Okay, and then again Gajapati dynasty, which was there in this particular answer option, that is Odisha and Northern Andhra, that is a region of where Gajapati dynasty was there, and it is ruled between 1534 to 1541. That is, it was ended even before Vijayanagara Empire ended too, and succeeded the Eastern Ganga dynasty. And after Gajapati dynasty, which dynasty came? That is Bohi dynasty came, and one ruler is important. That is the founder himself. That is the Emperor Kapilendra Deva, ruled between 1434 to 66. And during the peak, that empire stretched from nearly Ganga river to until Kaveri river in the south, and they are ardent supporters of Hinduism, particularly Vaishnavism. And the last ruler was Kakura Deva. Okay, so that is Gajapati dynasty. So Gaja means that is represents elephant. So we can talk about Kalinga region, that is Odisha region. So this is Gajapati dynasty. Simple chronological question. I think we also see in these kind of things in ancient India also, especially in the early medieval and medieval India. They asked about chronology of different kings as well as the dynasties, which dynasties were so and so established in different centuries. Okay, and the founder of the different dynasties. So again, knowing about the major dynasties of Indian subcontinent would be great. So I think we can expect 1 or 2 questions from that. That is probabilities. That is, we have to work on the basis of probabilities. We cannot absolutely say that this question might come, but what we are observing is that questions are repeating around the same themes, on the same answer options too. So that is the reason, that is knowing those concepts comprehensively, which little bit deeper, that would help you a lot.